Have you ever felt something inside you desperately trying to break free? What if your greatest talent was hiding in plain sight and nobody bothered to look? At 25, Emma Riley had mastered a skill that could change her life. But she cleaned hotel rooms instead. Every morning at 6:30 sharp, Emma Riley pushed her cleaning cart through the marble corridors of the Grand Metropolitan Hotel. Her uniform was pressed, her smile polite, her presence invisible. To the executives rushing past in their tailored suits, she was just another piece of the hotel's machinery, efficient, quiet, forgettable. But Emma carried a secret that none of them could imagine. 3 years ago, Emma had been a linguistics student, specializing in American Sign Language. Her younger brother Marcus had lost his hearing in a car accident when he was 12, and Emma had dedicated herself to becoming his bridge to the world. She'd planned to become a certified interpreter, maybe even teach at the deaf school downtown. But when their father lost his job and their mother fell ill, Emma made a choice that felt like suffocation. She dropped out in her final semester to work full-time. The hotel job paid the bills. It kept food on the table and medicine in their mother's cabinet. But every day, as Emma scrubbed bathroom tiles and changed bedsheets, she felt her dreams slipping further away. The sign language skills she'd worked so hard to develop were gathering dust, used only in evening conversations with Marcus. Yet she practiced in secret. During her lunch breaks, she'd sit in the hotel's service corridor, her fingers dancing, through complex conversations with invisible partners. She'd interpret the CNN broadcasts playing silently on the lobby television, translating world news into graceful hand movements that no one would ever see. Emma's supervisor, Mrs. June Hall, had worked at the Grand Metropolitan for 32 years. At 68, she'd seen enough young people come and go to recognize something special when she saw it. She'd noticed Emma's unusual hand gestures and the way her eyes lit up when she encountered the occasional deaf guest. "That girl's got depth," Mrs. Hall would tell her husband over dinner. "She's not meant for cleaning rooms forever." The Grand Metropolitan wasn't just any hotel. It was the kind of place where Fortune 500 CEOs conducted million-dollar deals over breakfast, where international diplomats held private meetings, and where Silicon Valley's elite stayed when they wanted to be seen. The staff knew their place in this ecosystem. There were the visible people, the concierges, the restaurant managers, the front desk staff who smiled and nodded and made the powerful feel important. And there were the invisible people, the housekeepers, the maintenance crew, the kitchen staff who made everything function smoothly while remaining carefully out of sight. Emma belonged to the invisible category, and she'd learned to navigate that reality with quiet dignity. She took pride in her work, ensuring every room was spotless, every towel perfectly folded, but she also understood that to the hotel's elite clientele, she was part of the scenery, no more notable than the expensive wallpaper or crystal chandeliers. Tuesday. Morning started like any other. Emma arrived at 5:45, changed into her uniform, and collected her supplies. She was assigned to the executive floors, 40th through 45th, where the hotel's most prestigious guests stayed. Room 4247 was her third stop of the day. As she knocked and received no response, she used her master key and entered quietly. The suite was immaculate, barely touched. A laptop sat closed on the mahogany desk, and a single coffee cup rested beside it, long cold. But what stopped Emma? In her tracks was the man standing on the private balcony. Caleb Morgan, CEO and co-founder of TechBridge Solutions, stood with his back to the room, his shoulders tense against the morning sky. Even from inside, Emma could see something was wrong. His usual commanding presence seemed diminished. TechBridge Solutions specialized in assistive technology for the deaf and hard-of-hearing community. Their breakthrough AI-powered hearing aids had revolutionized the industry, making advanced hearing assistance affordable for millions. At 33, Caleb had been featured on the covers of Forbes and Time, hailed as a visionary who understood both technology and human need. What the magazines didn't know was that Caleb's passion for assistive technology came from personal experience. A childhood accident had left him temporarily deaf for 2 crucial years between ages 5 and 7. Though his hearing had been restored through experimental surgery, those years had shaped his understanding of isolation in ways that drove his professional mission. But success had come with an unexpected cost. The higher Caleb climbed in the corporate world, the more isolated he became. Standing on that balcony, he was experiencing what he later described as a professional crisis of meaning. He'd built a company worth hundreds of millions, employed thousands of people, and helped millions more. Yet he felt more disconnected than ever. As Emma watched, she saw Caleb's hands move in what she recognized as an incomplete sign language gesture. It was rough, unpracticed, but unmistakable, the sign for help. Without thinking, Emma tapped gently on the glass door. Caleb turned, startled. For a moment, they simply looked at each other through the glass, the powerful CEO and the invisible housekeeper. Then Emma lifted her hands and signed clearly. "Good morning. You are not alone." The change in Caleb's expression was immediate and profound. Surprise gave way to something deeper, recognition perhaps, or relief. For the first time in months, he felt seen in a way that mattered. 2 days later, Emma was restocking cleaning supplies when her supervisor approached with an expression she'd never seen before, part confusion, part concern. "Emma, you need to report to the 47th floor immediately. Executive offices." The other housekeepers stopped their conversations. Nobody from housekeeping was ever summoned to the executive floors unless something had gone seriously wrong. The elevator ride seemed to last forever. When the doors opened, Emma stepped into a world she'd only glimpsed while delivering fresh towels. Everything was larger, quieter, more expensive. A receptionist directed Emma to a corner office. The nameplate read, "Caleb Morgan, CEO, TechBridge Solutions." She knocked softly and heard a voice call, "Come in." Caleb sat behind an imposing desk. He looked up as she entered, and she saw the same recognition in his eyes that she'd felt on the balcony. "Please sit down," he said, gesturing to a chair. Emma perched on the edge of the seat, her back straight, hands folded. Everything about her posture said, "I don't belong here," but her eyes held steady contact with his. "You're Emma Riley," he said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, sir." "The other morning on the balcony, you signed to me." Emma's cheeks flushed. I'm sorry if I overstepped, sir. I saw that you seemed... I just wanted..." "Don't apologize." His voice was firm but not unkind. "How long have you known sign language?" "Since I was 18. My brother Marcus lost his hearing in an accident, and I learned so I could communicate with him." "You learned for your brother?" "Yes, sir, and then I studied it in college. I was going to be an interpreter." "Was going to be?" Emma's hands twisted in her lap. "I had to drop out. Family circumstances. I needed to work." "What's your brother doing now?" "He's finishing high school. He wants to study engineering. He's brilliant with computers and technology." Pride crept into Emma's voice despite her nervousness. "And you're cleaning hotel rooms so he can pursue his dreams." "It's honest work, sir. I don't mind it." But Caleb could see that she did mind. It could see the intelligence and capability in her eyes that were being wasted. "Emma, I'm going to ask you something unusual. My company is developing new AI-assisted communication tools for the deaf community. We need someone who understands both the technical aspects and the human element of sign language communication. Would you be interested in consulting on this project?" Emma stared at him, certain she'd misunderstood. I'm sorry, what?" "I'm offering you a consulting position. Part-time initially, so you can continue your current work if needed. But it would involve using your sign language expertise to help develop better technology." "Mr. Morgan, I appreciate the offer, but I'm not qualified for that kind of work. I never finished my degree. I'm just a housekeeper." "You're a person with specialized knowledge and genuine compassion. That's exactly what this project needs." Emma shook her head. "You don't understand. I dropped out. I gave up. I'm not the kind of person who works on important projects." Caleb leaned forward. "Emma, can I tell you something? When I was a child, I was deaf for 2 years, not by choice, but because of an accident. Those years taught me something that no business school could: the difference between hearing and truly listening, between speaking and truly communicating." He paused. "Everything I've built since then has been trying to bridge those gaps for..." other people. But lately I've been so focused on the business side that I've lost touch with the human side. When you signed to me on that balcony, you reminded me what this work is really about. Emma sat quietly, processing his words. What exactly would I be doing? Initially, reviewing our user interface designs from an accessibility standpoint, testing our AI's ability to recognize and interpret sign language accurately. Eventually, you might help train our development team on the nuances of deaf culture and communication. And if I mess up, if I'm not good enough, then we'll figure it out together. That's how real innovation happens, not through perfection, but through genuine effort and willingness to learn. Emma looked down at her hands, the same hands that had spent 3 years folding towels and scrubbing bathrooms, the same hands that danced through complex conversations with her brother every evening. Could they really be capable of something more? I need to think about it, she said finally. Of course, take all the time you need. Caleb slid a business card across the desk. That has my direct number. When you're ready to talk, call me. Emma took the card, its weight somehow significant in her fingers. Thank you, Mr. Morgan, for seeing something in me that I'm not sure is really there. It's there, Emma. The question is whether you're ready to let other people see it too. That evening, Emma sat at her family's kitchen table, the business card in front of her like a door to another world. Marcus was beside her, working on calculus homework. Something's bothering you, Marcus signed during a break. Emma picked up the business card. I got offered a job today, a different kind of job. She explained the conversation with Caleb, watching Marcus's eyes grow wider with each detail. Emma, this is incredible. This is exactly what you were meant to do. I'm not qualified, Marcus. I never finished school. You know more about sign language than most people with degrees. You understand what it's like to live with someone who's deaf. You get the community, the culture, the real needs. Emma sighed. But what if I fail? What if I take this opportunity and prove that I really am just a housekeeper who got lucky? Marcus set down his pencil and looked at her seriously. What if you succeed? What if this is your chance to do the work you always dreamed of doing? The money's good, Emma admitted. Really good. It would mean Mum could cut back her hours, maybe get her back looked at properly. Then what's really stopping you? Emma was quiet for a long time. I'm scared, Marcus. I'm scared of wanting something this much and having it taken away. Her brother reached across and squeezed her hand. Emma, you gave up your dream so I could chase mine. Maybe it's time to chase them together. The next morning, Emma found herself paying closer attention to the hotel's corporate guests. She watched how they carried themselves, how they spoke, how they commanded rooms simply by entering them. Everything about their presence suggested competence, education, belonging. During her lunch break, she researched TechBridge solutions online. The company's achievements were staggering. Their products had helped millions of people with hearing impairments live fuller, more connected lives. Their team included PhDs from prestigious universities, engineers who'd worked at Apple and Google. How could she possibly fit into that world? But then she found a video of Caleb speaking at a conference about human-centered design in assistive technology. His passion was evident as he talked about the difference between creating products for people versus creating products with people. The most sophisticated technology in the world is useless, he said in the video, if it doesn't address real human needs in real human contexts. That requires not just technical expertise, but genuine understanding of the lived experience we're trying to support. Emma rewound that section 3 times, hearing something in his words that resonated with her own experience. 2 days later, Sarah Chen approached Emma during the afternoon shift change. There was something different in Sarah's expression, sharper, more focused than usual. Emma, I understand you've been offered some kind of consulting position with one of our guests. Word traveled fast in a hotel, especially when it involved something unusual like a housekeeper being called to executive offices. Yes, ma'am. I hope you understand that this kind of external arrangement could complicate your position here. The hotel has policies about staff members developing personal relationships with guests. Emma felt heat rise in her cheeks. It's not a personal relationship, ma'am. It's a professional opportunity. Is it? Sarah's tone was skeptical. Emma, you seem like a nice girl, but you need to be realistic about your capabilities. These corporate executives, they live in a different world than we do. They make promises they don't always keep, especially to people they see as accessible. The implication hung in the air between them. Sarah wasn't just questioning Emma's qualifications. She was suggesting that Caleb might have ulterior motives. I don't think Mr. Morgan is like that, Emma said quietly. Maybe not. But even if his intentions are professional, are you really prepared for that kind of work? These people expect competence, Emma. They expect expertise. They don't have patience for learning curves or good intentions. Sarah's words echoed Emma's own doubts. What exactly are you saying, ma'am? I'm saying that sometimes the kindest thing is to know your limitations. You're good at your job here. You're reliable, thorough, pleasant with the guests. Why risk that for something that might not work out? After Sarah walked away, Emma stood in the service corridor, feeling smaller than she had in years. Mrs. Hall found her there 20 minutes later. What's got you looking like someone stole your last dollar? Emma explained the conversation with Sarah, watching Mrs. Hall's expression grow more concerned with each detail. That woman's got her own insecurities, Mrs. Hall said firmly. Don't let her project them onto you. But what if she's right? What if I'm being naive? Mrs. Hall was quiet for a moment. Emma, I've been working in hotels for 32 years. I've seen a lot of people come and go, and I've learned to recognize the real thing when I see it. She placed a gentle hand on Emma's shoulder. That man didn't call you upstairs because he felt sorry for you. He called you because he saw something valuable. The question isn't whether you deserve the opportunity. The question is whether you're brave enough to take it. The courage decision that evening, Emma sat in her room with Caleb's business card, her phone in her other hand. She'd dialed his number 3 times and hung up before it could ring. Marcus knocked and entered without waiting for permission. You haven't called him yet. How do you know? Because you have that look you get when you're overthinking everything, Emma laughed despite herself. I don't overthink everything. Marcus sat on the edge of her bed. Emma, do you remember what you used to tell me when I was afraid to try new things after I lost my hearing? She smiled softly. That the worst thing that could happen wasn't failure. It was never knowing what you might have achieved. Exactly. So what's the worst thing that could happen if you take this job? Emma considered. I could fail. I could prove that I'm not smart enough or qualified enough. I could embarrass myself in front of important people. And what's the worst thing that could happen if you don't take it? The answer came immediately. I could spend the rest of my life wondering what might have been. Marcus nodded. And which of those feels worse? Emma looked at the business card again, seeing it differently now. Not as a test she might fail, but as a door she could choose to open. She picked up her phone and dialed before she could change her mind. Caleb answered on the second ring. Hello, Mr. Morgan? This is Emma Riley. Emma, I was hoping you'd call. Have you thought about the position? I have, and I'd like to try if the offer is still open. It absolutely is. Can you come in tomorrow afternoon? We can discuss the details, and I can show you what we're working on. Yes, sir. What time? How about 3 o'clock? And Emma? Yes? Thank you for being brave enough to say yes. After she hung up, Emma felt something she hadn't experienced in years, genuine excitement about her professional future. The fear was still there, but it was overshadowed by possibility. Marcus grinned at her. So when do you start changing the world? Tomorrow, Emma said, surprising herself with the confidence in her voice. I start tomorrow. The next afternoon, Emma stood outside Tech Bridge Solutions' temporary office space, wearing her best dress and trying to calm her racing heart. Through the glass doors, she could see Caleb working at a computer, surrounded by papers and prototype devices. She knocked softly and he looked up with a smile that immediately put her more at ease. Emma, come in. Welcome to organized chaos. The office was chaotic in a way that suggested intense creative work. Whiteboards covered with diagrams lined the walls, multiple computers displayed complex software interfaces, and scattered across several tables were devices that looked like hearing aids, but more sophisticated than any Emma had seen. This is impressive, she said, looking around. It's overwhelming is what it is, Caleb replied. We are trying to solve about 15 different problems at once, which is probably why we're not solving any of them particularly well. He gestured for her to sit at a conference table. Before we dive into the technical stuff, I want to understand more about your background. Tell me about learning sign language. Emma had expected this question, but sitting in this professional environment made her acutely aware of how informal her education had been. When Marcus lost his hearing, I started with basic courses at the community center. But most of what I learned came from being part of the deaf community, going to events, making friends, practicing every day. That's actually more valuable than formal classroom learning for what we're trying to do, Caleb said. Academic ASL is different from conversational ASL, which is different from the shorthand that family members develop together. Emma felt some of her tension ease. That's true. Marcus and I have our own modified signs for some things, faster ways to communicate concepts that come up frequently in our household. Exactly. And that's what our AI needs to understand, not just dictionary, sign language, but the way people actually communicate in real situations. Caleb pulled out a tablet and showed her the interface they'd been developing. Right now, our recognition software is about 70% accurate, with formal ASL signs performed slowly and clearly. But with natural conversation, the speed and fluency that actual users would employ, the accuracy drops to about 40%. Emma studied the screen, immediately seeing several issues. The hand positioning sensors aren't accounting for regional variations in signs, and some of these gesture mappings are wrong. Wrong how, Emma demonstrated, showing him the difference between what the software was interpreting and what the signs actually meant. This gesture the system thinks means confused, actually means frustrated. They look similar, but the emotional context is completely different. Caleb leaned forward, suddenly animated. That's exactly the kind of insight we need. Can you walk through the interface and identify other areas where the interpretations are off? For the next 2 hours, Emma found herself completely absorbed in the work. Her nervousness disappeared as she focused on problems she actually understood and could help solve. This wasn't about having formal credentials. It was about having lived experience that could improve technology for people like Marcus. Emma, Caleb said as their session was winding down, this has been incredibly helpful. You've identified more usability issues in 2 hours than our previous consultant found in 2 weeks. Emma blushed. I just know what works and what doesn't from daily use. That's exactly what makes you valuable. Technical expertise is important, but understanding the human element is what turns good technology into technology that actually improves people's lives. 3 weeks later, Emma had been working with Caleb's team regularly. The improvements to their AI system had been remarkable. Accuracy had jumped to 87%, and beta testers were reporting significantly better communication experiences. But Emma's dual existence was becoming increasingly difficult to maintain. One morning, she was cleaning the lobby restrooms when she heard raised voices from the adjacent corridor. Through the partially open door, she could see Sarah talking with Caleb near the elevator bank. Mr. Morgan, I appreciate your interest in helping our staff, but Emma Riley simply isn't qualified for the kind of role you're describing. Emma froze, realizing they were talking about her. With respect, Caleb replied, his voice carefully controlled, I think I'm qualified to determine what skills my company needs. Emma doesn't have the educational background or professional experience for technical consulting work. She's a housekeeper, Mr. Morgan, a very nice girl, but not someone who belongs in a corporate environment. Ms. Chen, Caleb's voice had grown noticeably colder. I've worked with Emma extensively over the past month. Her insights have been invaluable to our project development. She understands both the technical and human aspects of assistive technology in ways that our formally educated consultants missed entirely. I'm sure she's been very helpful with basic feedback, but surely you need someone with actual credentials for serious development work. The people with those credentials missed problems that Emma identified immediately. Emma Riley has contributed more to our product development in 4 weeks than our previous consultant contributed in 6 months. The ultimatum, Emma heard Sarah's heels clicking rapidly down the corridor. Then Caleb's voice much closer to the restroom door. "Emma, I know you're in there. Can we talk?" Emma emerged, mortified. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to eavesdrop." "You don't need to apologize. What Sarah just said about you, none of that is true. You're not out of your depth, you're not unqualified. You're exactly what this project needs." Emma felt tears threatening. "But she's right about my education. I never finished college. I don't have technical credentials. Emma, do you know what my first job was? I was a stock boy at an electronics store. No college degree, no technical training, just curiosity and willingness to learn. Everything I know about business and technology, so I learned by doing it." He leaned against the wall. "The most successful people I know aren't the ones with the most impressive resumes. They're the ones who see problems clearly and work persistently to solve them. That's exactly what you've been doing." Emma wiped her eyes. "Sarah says I have to choose between the hotel job and working with you." Caleb's expression darkened. "That's completely inappropriate. There's no legitimate conflict of interest here." "Maybe she's right, though. Maybe I should stick with what I know I can do well." "Emma, listen to me carefully. In 3 weeks, TechBridge is opening a permanent office here in the city. We need a director of user experience, someone who understands our technology from both a technical and human perspective. The salary is $90,000 a year plus benefits and equity in the company." Emma's eyes widened. That was nearly triple what she made at the hotel. "I want to offer you that position. Not because I feel sorry for you, not because I'm trying to be charitable, but because you're the right person for the job. You've already proven that. Director of User Experience. You'd be working with our development team to ensure that everything we create actually serves the needs of the deaf community. You'd be traveling to conferences, meeting with user groups, guiding product development from the ground up." The opportunity was staggering. What if I fail? What if I can't handle that level of responsibility? Then we'll figure it out together. But Emma, failure isn't trying something difficult and not succeeding immediately. Failure is not trying at all because you're afraid of what might happen. Emma thought about Marcus, about their mother's medical bills, about all the dreams she'd put aside. Then she thought about the past month, about how alive she'd felt working on meaningful problems. "I'll need to give the hotel 2 weeks' notice." Caleb smiled. "Does that mean you're accepting the position?" Yes, I'm accepting the position." "Welcome to TechBridge Solutions, Director Riley." 6 months later, Emma walked into TechBridge's new offices wearing a business suit that no longer felt foreign. Her office had her name on the door. Emma, Riley, Director of User Experience. The breakthrough came during a presentation to potential investors. Emma was demonstrating their latest AI interface, showing how it could facilitate communication between deaf and hearing family members. "The key innovation," she explained, "isn't just that our AI recognizes sign language accurately. It's that it understands context, emotion, and cultural nuance. It doesn't just translate words, it facilitates real connection." She showed a video of Marcus using the technology to communicate with their mother. The AI captured his tone, his humor, his personality. "This is what assistive technology should do," Emma said, her voice growing stronger. "It should help everyone communicate more fully, more authentically with each other." The room erupted in applause. "Ms. Riley," one investor said, "that was the most compelling demonstration of user-centered design I've seen in 20 years. This isn't just a product, it's a bridge between communities." A year later, Emma found herself back in the Grand Metropolitan's lobby as a featured speaker at a conference on workplace diversity. Mrs. Hall was in the audience, now working part-time for TechBridge. So was Marcus, enrolled in engineering, school with scholarship support from TechBridge's educational foundation. 18 months ago, Emma began, I was cleaning rooms in this hotel. I was invisible to most people here, just part of the background machinery. She paused, looking out at the audience. But I wasn't invisible because I lacked talent. I was invisible because I was working in a system that only saw me in terms of my current job title, not my actual capabilities. Emma told her story, the sign language skills developed out of family necessity. the college dreams abandoned for financial reality, the consulting opportunity that grew into a career transformation. "The question isn't whether there are talented people in unexpected places," she said. "The question is whether we're willing to look beyond our assumptions about where talent comes from." She clicked to a slide showing TechBridge's latest product, communication device that had helped thousands of families. This technology exists because someone was willing to value lived experience as much as formal education. Every organization has people whose potential is invisible to traditional evaluation methods. The companies that learn to see and develop that potential won't just be more diverse, they'll be more innovative and more human. The applause was sustained and enthusiastic. Sarah Chen approached afterward. "That was impressive, Emma. I owe you an apology. I was wrong about your potential." Emma studied Sarah's face, seeing genuine remorse. "We all make assumptions. The important thing is being willing to revise them when we get new data. I should have supported your opportunity instead of trying to undermine it. I'm sorry." Emma nodded. "I appreciate that, but I've learned that there isn't just one way to build a meaningful career. Perhaps the most important change wasn't in her external circumstances. It was in her understanding of her own worth. She'd learned that value doesn't come from credentials or job titles. It comes from the willingness to contribute your unique perspective to solving problems that matter." The young woman who had once signed "Good morning, you are not alone" through a hotel window had learned the most important truth of all. None of us are alone in our potential for growth and meaningful impact. We just need someone willing to see it, someone brave enough to pursue it, and someone wise enough to share it with others. The silent language of possibility speaks to everyone. The question is whether we're patient enough to listen. If this story touched your heart the way it touched mine, I'd love for you to join our community. Subscribe for more stories that remind us all that kindness never goes unnoticed, and every act of love creates ripples we may never see, but others surely feel.